Hello and welcome to Baba Eats, where I make healthy meals for the whole family, including my toddler. Something that I've seen a lot of people doing lately on YouTube is making vegetable broth from kitchen scraps. And I go through quite a bit of vegetable broth because I like to use it in soups and in cooking lentils and making sauces and many other uses. And I had never tried making vegetable broth from my scraps before, so I thought I would give it a try. Over the past couple of weeks, I have been saving my vegetable scraps in the freezer in a Ziploc bag. And now I'm gonna take out the scraps and saute them in a pot. I wanna get them a little bit browned to give them some extra flavor. And then I will be boiling them in order to get all of the flavor and vitamins out of the vegetable scraps and into the broth. So as I'm putting stuff in there, I'm going to show you the kinds of things that I saved. And I was saving these in the freezer, but I thawed them before putting them into saute. So I'm going to add some olive oil into my pot for sauteing these veggies. And I have some ends of beets. We made some roasted beets recently. I have some onion ends and onion skins, more beets. I have a lot of kale stems. We went through a lot of kale over the past few weeks. So I have a lot of kale stems in there. I have some carrot ends that are in here. And that is mostly what's in here. A lot of kale and onion skins, I think a little bit of ginger peels, and I cooked a celery root for the first time, so I have some peels from celery root in here. And what else is in here? Now, I don't usually peel a lot of my vegetables, so that leaves me with not a ton of things in here. Mostly the carrots and ends and the celery root ends, kale stems. I also have some cabbage in here that was a little bit wilted, so I threw that cabbage in here. I also have some of the tough pieces from asparagus in this other bag. And that is everything that is going to be going into this pot. So I'm going to let that saute up a little bit, and then once that has sauteed, I'll add my broth. And part of my low waste kitchen is I always wash and reuse these bags. Like I have drying over here next to the sink. I use them for everything that I put in the freezer. So I usually freeze muffins and bread and now veggies. And I put a little label on here and just relabel it when I put something new in the bag and put it into the freezer. And these bags will go through usually, 10 or so uses before they have a hole or a leak somewhere, and then I have to get rid of them. But washing and reusing bags is not that difficult, and these can have more than one use and saves from waste and saves money in the kitchen. So I told you about what I did put into here. What I did not put into here is garlic skins. I think that's something that I could have put in there, but I didn't really use very much garlic over the past couple of weeks, which is unusual for me because I usually use a lot of garlic, but there's no garlic skins in there. Also, when I use my bell peppers, I use the entire edible part of the bell pepper, and I didn't think that that tough stem of the bell pepper was going to be a good flavor in there, so I did not include the stems from bell peppers. And I think that the stems from bell peppers and the garlic skins, which I didn't really use that much of, are the only things that I recall throwing into the trash this week. So all of my other scraps are in here, and I am going to put some salt in there and let this saute up, and then I will add my liquid. Okay, it's been half an hour and my veggies are still simmering away. Probably need to turn it to a lower simmer. The green has definitely left the kale stems. They were a lot more green when they were in there. And the water now looks a lot like a broth. It is darker. I will take some out of there to show you the color. Okay, we're gonna pour some of this in here, and there's what the broth looks like. It's a nice brown broth looking color, and I will give it a taste. It's a little bit bitter, but it tastes quite good. I've seen a lot of people making their broth and saying that it was not good, and to me this tastes good. I think, maybe it's mostly kale stems in here, and that might be leading to that slight bit of bitterness, but it's quite sweet with the carrots and the beets in there, and it's a nice color. I think I might let it just simmer another half an hour to just get all of the flavor out of there. Just do as much as possible to soften those veggies, and then I will take the broth out and store it. Okay, it's been about another hour or so. The thing with having a toddler is that there's a change in the timeline a lot. So I thought I was going to cook it for another half an hour or so, but then I needed to put my daughter down for her nap. So now I'm back, and this has been here for, yes, an hour or so. And my house smells delicious. I went outside to walk my daughter to sleep, and coming back into my house, I thought it smells like I have a delicious soup cooking. So I think that this is working out rather nicely. Here's what the broth looks like. So yes, here's what it looks like. A nice dark broth. I think this is gonna be really nice for cooking soup. It's really, really flavorful, and it tastes delicious. It's really good. I don't know what other people on YouTube are complaining about. Maybe it's because they didn't saute their vegetables before boiling them. My guess is that that's the key. I just did that because that's how I always make soup. I like to saute my vegetables and then add broth, and it makes the soup more flavorful. So that's why I figured I would do that when making the broth. And now that I know that this works, I'm not going to be wasting those vegetable stems anymore. And I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, put them in the freezer, and then every once in a while I'll make a delicious vegetable broth. So I will squeeze out all my vegetables once they're cool and pour the broth into here, and I think I'll have a good amount of broth. I don't think really any of the water evaporated because I had the lid on, and this is one of these nice lids that has these little, well, nipples, I don't know what to call them, but these little things that the water condenses on the top and then it drips back into the pot off of this. So no water really escapes the pot. I mean, a tiny bit will escape the pot, but most of it is still in there. So I'm guessing that I'll get about as much liquid as I put into the pot out. So it'll be 8 cups or so of broth that I can use later in the week for making a soup or adding into sauces and such. So I am very pleased with how this turned out. I recommend trying it yourself and let me know how it goes for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to having you join me again soon.